Matt Plattsburgh Vengrin has been proving his mettle on both the live and online tournament scene since 2006. A series of small cashes in live events, including a final table in the 2007 Ultimate Bet Aruba Classic, have earned him more than $200,000 in winnings. Vengrin, however, has made even more money online. His biggest ever score was for almost $210,000 for taking down a short-handed event at the F-Tops 5. Just recently, he turned up the heat again by taking down a $200 rebuy on PokerStars, and then finishing in second place in the Sunday Million 2 weeks later, about a week and a half ago. Vengrin normally sleeps from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but we woke him up early today to get him into the Card Player TV studio to talk to him about his success and what it takes to become a winning player. All right, well, thanks a lot for being here today with us, Matt.
You're welcome.
So first off, what is the deal with your sleep schedule? Because when I tried to schedule this interview, you basically told me that between the hours of 9 to 5, you're out of commission. So, how did that come about?
Well, it's really horrible, actually, because everybody else is awake when I'm sleeping. It started because my buddy works at Bellagio, and he gets off at about 4 in the morning. So we started going to the gym, and there was only no other real time to go because I was sleeping, when he was getting ready for work, and he was getting home pretty late. So we decided to go at 4. Once we started going at 4, we just kind of got into a routine. And after we work out, we'd go get breakfast or watch a little bit of TV. And by the time, I'm ready to go to sleep, it's almost 8 o'clock. And it's really detrimental if I wanted to have a real-world job, but for poker, it's perfect, actually.
Okay. Well, and you had mentioned to me on the phone that you're doing this, starting working out and stuff like that, to get prepared for the World Series. How is that?
Well, I think that there's 2 parts to get prepared for the World Series. A lot of people realize that it's mental, the game of poker, for sure, but there's a lot of parts of being able to maintain your mental focus for a while, and one of those is being in good physical shape. A lot of the poker world, we sit around all the time to play cards, for 10 hours at a time, maybe more for some people, and it's really hard to maintain a good shape if you're doing that. So I'm trying to prepare for the World Series in that way, just to get in shape, and so I can be mentally prepared and physically prepared and hopefully have an edge over the competition.
Okay. Well, arguably your biggest deal, most recent finish was when you came runner-up in the Sunday Million about a week and a half ago, 2 Sundays ago. Mm-hmm. You basically bested 3,100 other players. Do you still get butterflies or get nervous when you're that deep in such a high-profile event?
That's a good question. Yes and no. I try to not even bother looking at the lobby. I try to just play every hand as it comes, every situation as it comes. And when I'm doing that correctly, I don't really worry about the money. I don't worry about, the pay increases. I'm not looking at the lobby to try to move up in a pay scale because I've realized after playing tournaments for 3 years that all the money's at the top. So to answer your question more thoroughly, yes, I did at one point when we were about probably 9-handed. I was like, wow, I'm at the million final table, and then I kind of calmed down and realized that it was just another tournament, and I had to take advantage of everybody else who was probably thinking the way that I was thinking for that split second. So, it was a tough tournament. I wish I would have won it, though. It always sucks coming in second after you beat that many people.
Well, you said that you don't even really ever look at the lobby. Is that not really strictly true? Or do you look at the lobby to see if the money bubble's coming up or anything like that? Or do you just kind of tone it all out and just play it as it goes?
I've kind of learned to sense it a little bit, I think. People start to slow down usually when the money bubble comes. I don't really look at the lobby. Actually, when I won the F-Tops event, I didn't look at the lobby at all, and I didn't know how much first was. So it was a good, good surprise at the end. But it really helps you focus if you're not worrying about the other stuff, because you really can't control that other stuff. And yeah, it's okay to look sometimes to see what the chip average is, but that sometimes prompts people to make moves that you can kind of predict already that they're going to make. If they say, oh, the blind jump's coming up, I'm only going to have 10 blinds, I need to make a move now, then it's kind of easier to understand what they're moving with and to get into their heads a little bit.
Okay. Well, what exactly got you to the final table of that Sunday Million?
A lot of luck. No,
that's what everyone always says.
Well, you do have to run very well to make the final table, of course.
When there's thousands of players.
Right, exactly. The one thing I will say is that when it's a $500 buy-in or a $1,000 buy-in, it's a lot easier, I think, to make the final table for a skilled player than it is in the 200 because the blinds just go up exponentially. I remember my friend made the final table of the million actually this past week, the 200, and the blinds were something like, I think they were like 700,000, 1.4 million when they were heads up. Whereas when I got heads up, it was, I think, 150,000, 300,000. So you can kind of see that it's a way better structure on the 500. So you can bide your time more. You can pick your spots, not as frequently as you have to in the 200. And it's overall a better structure, and it favors the better players. And there were a lot of good players at that final table for sure.
Okay.
So.
Well, kind of driving off of that, you said you agreed to a 5-way deal at that final table. Now, normally, from what I've heard from a lot of people, if you think you have an edge over the field and it's not a crapshoot yet, usually people don't agree to deals. So what's your methodology behind determining whether a deal's good for you? And what in this case is specifically?
Well, you bring up two good points. One is it a crapshoot or is it not a crapshoot? And two is if you have an edge on the field. And I do think I had an edge on the field. At some points I was running them over a little bit when I got some chips. But the problem is the other thing I was looking at was what you just mentioned, was it a crapshoot or not? And it wasn't really a crapshoot, although the chip leader only had about 40 big blinds, which is still good. If the chip leader had maybe 80 big blinds, I think I would not have chopped. But I had about, I want to say, maybe 35 big blinds, which, any hand can sway, the outcome. You can just get unlucky once and be out and, be getting 60 grand. So one of my friends once told me that if you're not comfortable playing for an amount of money, you should always chop. And that more goes for heads up. But in this spot, I was comfortable playing, but the reason why I chopped was everyone wanted to chop, and it was a little bit of a crapshoot. Now, normally when everybody wants to chop, you probably should not if you think you have an edge, because you know you can take advantage of them.
And you know that the pay jumps are probably important to them.
Right, exactly. And I know for a fact that the pay jumps are important to a few people who have jobs, there. So it was, I guess I was just feeling nice, maybe, that night.
You were feeling charitable?
Yeah.
Well, do you think that chops take away from the spirit of the game at all?
I think they do. Maybe the Sunday Million, not so much, because we were still playing for $30,000, which is a big chunk of money, even when you guarantee yourself a six-figure payday. But I do think they take away from the spirit a little bit, because it does, tournaments you play to win, and I'm a very competitive person. I've played basketball all my life, and, I've always really enjoyed winning. I hate losing. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it takes away from the spirit too much, but I guess it's situational, actually.
Okay. Well, and I said that the Sunday Million was arguably your most big deal finish recently, and I said that because you've had a few other interesting finishes lately. One of them was in a live tournament, the WPT Championship you recently played in, $25,000 buy-in, and you made it in the money. What place did you make again?
I got 47th,
Okay.
46th or 47th, I think.
And so, is that a big deal to you?
Yes and no. I feel like it's hard to get through that field because it's just stacked with amazing players. I mean, if you play WPT any time of the year, you're going to maybe see one face you recognize, maybe two. The rest of them are going to be just players that play recreationally or for whatever reason are playing in a satellite. It was a very tough field. My first day, I think I had 4 or 5 people that I knew, very well that have had a lot of success. And every day, there were at least 2 to 3 or 4 players at the table. To answer your question, I think that it's a great accomplishment, but I do enjoy getting deep in any other tournament more than getting, like 47th out of 500, which is fine, especially since I got in on a satellite, so it makes it a lot better. But, yeah, so.
Okay. Well, the other tournament that you did really well, and you took it down, was the $200 rebuy on PokerStars. It was about, I think, 2 weeks before your Sunday Million finish.
Right.
And that is very widely regarded as an extremely tough tournament. I mean, even the $100 rebuy is regarded as extremely tough. $200 would be even more so. So even though you made more money in the Sunday Million and you outlasted more opponents, which one do you hold in a higher regard? Because you did win the $200 rebuy.
Well, my competitive side wants to say, I like the 200 rebuy more, but my mental side says, you won 4 times the amount of money, in the Sunday, even though you got second. So it's a good question. I do like winning the 200 rebuy because I've had a monkey on my back a while. I haven't really won, a regular rebuy on PokerStars ever. So that was a good monkey to get off my back for sure. And it is a tough tournament because there's no satellite entries. The Million will have a lot of satellite entries. So it is a very tough field, and I'm very proud to have been able to win it.
Okay. Well, and kind of tangentially, what do you think, in your opinion, is the best satellite to get into the Sunny Million?
Well, I used to play a lot of them when I was starting out. I like the. It depends on your style. If you're an aggressive player, you can usually do well on the rebuys. The turbo rebuys, they end in real fast, maybe an hour and a half. You're playing maybe 2 hours. The other ones, the freeze outs, are pretty good. I haven't played them as much because I kind of am impatient sometimes when it comes to satellites. So, yeah, probably on PokerStars they have great rebuy tournaments. Maybe for the 200, it's like $10 rebuy. You can get in for $30. You know, it's pretty good value.
Okay. Well, and the other question I had about the rebuy tournaments is, what is your style of play during the actual rebuy period of rebuys?
You know, I'm tighter than most. A lot of people that do well in the rebuys are very aggressive. They just will put in a lot of money. I remember seeing my friend Wes Menlo, Isaac Barron. He was in for about 5,000 in 100 rebuy once. He went in all in every hand, and you know, I understand why they do it. But I just can't see why it's profitable, even if they get a ton of chips from it.
We say you understand why they do it. Why do you think they do it?
Well, they do it to obviously get more chips than their opponents. I think they also do it to put chips in players' hands at their table that they think they can extract later,
okay.
Which is probably more of the reason why they do it, actually. So when you can amass a big chip stack, it's obviously an advantage, although if you put in 2,000, you're going to have to finish at the final table to break even. So, and it's a tough field, so it's hard even for a great player to do that every time.
Okay. Well, in the 2007 World Series of Poker, you cashed twice, right?
Twice. And
one of those was a final table. What is your plan of attack for this year?
Well, like I said, I'm trying to get mentally and physically prepared. That's my number one goal is to, at the time of the series, be there, and I'm on pace to do that. I'm feeling a lot better. Also, eating better is a big key because I feel like when you're at the series, it's tough to eat well, and yeah, I think that affects you adversely as well. If you eat just fast food all the time, you're not going to feel good, and you might get sick. Your immunity might go down. So my goal this year is to play maybe I think it's about 14 to 20 events. We'll see how I can do. I don't know how some of these players play what they do, but you know.
Well, in 2006, I remember I covered in 2006, and there were players playing 2 events at the same time.
There were a few of my friends were doing that. They were just going crazy in the noon one, and they'd have a stack from the day before. And it would be like moving from table to table. I don't know. It brings a whole new meaning to multi-tabling, I guess.
Did it work for any of them, or just?
I haven't heard a good story.
Okay.
Although I
figured it couldn't be a good story.
No, I did hear someone was multi-tabling at Bellagio and the World Series. Seriously, though.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a little bit crazy.
Well, how do you prepare for live events in general? Like, I mean, do you have a ritual the day of or the day before? Or do you make sure to do something or be a certain way?
I try to swim before each tournament day that I play. During the WPT championship, I just made sure I got enough sleep. I think that's actually the biggest goal. It's really funny because, well, it's not funny at all, actually. The last day that I was in, which was, I think it was day 4, I think I busted out in the first 15 minutes. And unfortunately, I got no sleep that night, and I don't know why it was. May have been because I was nervous, but I don't think I was nervous, but subconsciously I may have been. So I didn't get much sleep, and I woke up at like I think it was like 5 in the morning, and the tournament was at noon, and I was like, oh, it'll be all right, you know, I'll be fine. And then I started getting these negative feelings about it, and I was real tired, and I've just learned that I should never ever play when I'm tired, so it's unfortunate. I busted out within the first 10 minutes.
Which is hard to do in some of these tournaments.
Right.
Well, how did you get started in poker in the first place?
When I was in college, when I was playing basketball for Plattsburgh State, my friend introduced me to it. We just played sit and goes with a few people, maybe $5 a game. And I just went from there, and then he showed me online, and I created a screen name. He sent me a little bit of money. I gave him cash. And I didn't do too well at the beginning. You know, I lost a little bit of money. I was in college. I was very poor, so it wasn't the best decision to do. But just playing, you know, is how I got my start. Just playing a lot. I really loved the game. I enjoyed playing it, and I still love it to this day, although I play less because I feel like if you play too much, you just kind of get burned out, and it's a bad thing.
So what do you do nowadays to try to strive to get better? Aside from the physical stuff that you've been talking about, which is a facet that a lot of people haven't been paying attention to, really.
I've been doing, actually, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. It's for a test. How do you do well at a test? You study, right? So for poker, I've actually been studying a little bit. I've been reading a few books. I read Vengrin's book recently, which was very good. And I've also been watching some poker on TV, which I can hardly stand sometimes, but it does serve well for some purposes of studying, ticks of people and all that kind of stuff. And I watched myself a few times just to see if I could pick up something that, would be detrimental and people could pick up off me. So
okay, what's one mistake that you made kind of on your way up through the ranks while you were learning that you think maybe the viewers could learn from?
I was way too cocky, for sure, and I've learned that that's not the best way to be. And I've seen people around me that are like that, and it's kind of turned me off of it. So I've tried to be more down to earth and and enjoy it more and think how lucky I am to be in this position. When a lot of people are not doing so well. So
and how does cockiness turn into a mistake though? Like in what ways did it negatively affect you?
I think I lost some respect for my peers at the time back then, which was nobody likes somebody that brags when they win a tournament or for whatever reason, think they're a great player. So,
but how does that affect your game? Or does it at all?
It did affect it a little bit. I think when you get over your head, you don't play as well. You just kind of think about, that's. I guess it doesn't affect my game specifically. Maybe the mental part of it.
Well, I suppose it also could in the respect that a lot of people that I know, a lot of poker pros, rely on talking to friends or discussing like hands with friends. Do you do that at all?
I do.
And so, I mean, if you don't have, if the people in the community don't respect you, then you don't have anyone to talk to about.
So back then it was a little bit difficult, but now it's good. I try not to discuss too many hands with a lot of people because it may sound bad, but I don't want to educate a ton of people about poker since it is my business, and I don't want to do that too much, but I do talk to my close friends about poker hands, and I think that's the number one way to get better is just talk about hands with friends.
Okay,
that are good.
Do you have any like interesting poker anecdotes or stories that you can tell us?
Yeah, I have one. When I was I think this was 2 or 3 summers. Actually, probably 3 summers ago. I was playing in Atlantic City. I was living in New Jersey, actually on the beach, which was cool for the summer. And I made a few thousand that summer, and I had only I took most of it out so I could have it at college, so I wouldn't starve to death. And
good plan.
Right. So I was down from that 100. I was down to like 38 cents, and I was just like, well, what am I supposed to do with 38 cents? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna, and one of my biggest things that I'm about is bankroll management for sure. So I was like, all right, bankroll management out the window. Just gonna try to turn this as much money as I can. If I lose it, whatever, I probably have that change in my pocket. So I played I think it was actually 2 cent, 4 cent limit heads up on PokerStars, and turned it into like $1, and then I took it to no limit, 1 cent, 2 cent, and turned that into like $3, and then I kept grinding up a little bit till I got up to like $7, and I put a $6.50 of it into a single table sit and go. Won the single table sit and go for I think it was like $27 or something.
Great bankroll management.
Yeah, perfect bankroll management. Put like 98% of your money into one. So then I won it, and I played another one, actually $6.50, which is great bankroll management for that night. Won that too. So I was up to like I think about $50, $54, something like that. And I decided to play the 5 rebuy on PokerStars, and I think I was in for the minimum too. And and it was like 11 hours later. It was like the longest tournament I ever played. We were four-handed and we chopped, and I think I got like $3,000 or $4,000, something like $3,600. And that was like crazy. Turned 36 cents into 3,600, in one night is pretty crazy. So
good deal. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to mention?
I just signed with Suited Connections, which is a poker agency that just is getting off the ground now. I also want to say hi to my family, my brother Jared, sister Thea, my mom Jana, and my dad George. And hey guys.
Like how you kind of lift your eyes like, George? Was it George?
Oh God, I can't wait to see that. Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I got for you. I really appreciate you doing this interview with us.
Sure, anytime.
And thank you guys for watching The Online Zone on Card Player TV.